Hi everyone, welcome to the podcast. P is for plog. My podcast series, I talk about my life as a professional plogger. We're actually up to episode 42, so let's talk about the meaning of life. Just like the last 3 times, this is going to be just an update on how the planning and preparations are going for my run for promises, which is going to be my 40-day long ultra marathon everyday run, picking trash up in a banana suit while trying to collect acts of kindness. Let's get going. Episode number 4 of the Run for Promises series.
Plug it and tag it and post it and bin it. Plug it and tag it and post it and bin it.
So welcome, episode 42. Let's talk about the meaning of life. Well, actually, coincidentally, I kind of do want to talk about that at one little point, but I just want to really talk about the updates that have gone through here. It's not going to be too long a podcast. I say that every time and I always fail, but let's get focused. Let's get focused, people. What are we going to talk about first? We're going to talk about injuries. Oh my God. Let's talk about the tough one straight away because it's all, I'm falling apart. I'm like an old man falling apart. But it is such a great, for me, it's such a great moment in my journey as a person, not necessarily a journey as a professional plogger, although it is totally connected because, you know, I need this body to be able to run, to be able to pick up trash. So, you know, my whole career is based on it. I remember I went to school one time, a secondary school, and the kids were very interested in how I could make money doing this. And I said, I am too. But when they said, what happens if you get injured? And I said, yeah, I fail, I lose money, I lose the house or whatever. And it's that serious. You know, I do need to look after this body. And I will be honest, and it's a bit like the eating disorder that I have, the binge eating disorder. It's, you know, these are working, you know, I should be more committed to being completely healthy, but I am a human being and I don't give it the attention it needs to, and it's starting to make an impact where I've gotten away with it for the last, 58 years. This 59th year on this planet is the one where it says, no, you've got to start looking after yourself. And so all the injuries are actually indicating that. And it's a really exciting time for me because it means that suddenly I have to, if I want to continue doing this, I have to be more responsible, be more respectful for my health, be more respectful for my body, just to make sure that I can do this. So what are we doing? Where are we with injury? Well, for the last few weeks, I've been struggling with a hip flexor issue. It's not the psoas or anything like that. It's really is sort of a more general range, and it goes down through to the leg. And I said on previous episodes, I think it's all connected, and the connection's continuing. So, I think this all goes back to looking at the root cause, which is me stopping all of the other sports I've done, stopping even the running, just going down to one type of running, which is just jogging, no big long strides or anything, a really short stride. And then my muscles have got short. I had tightness on my right side, overcompensated on my left side, that caused the hip flexor on my left hip area. Now that's finally going away, and I was expecting to come on this call. So if I'd have made this call on Friday, it would have been, hey, I'm all good. Saturday comes, and suddenly I've got a new injury. I've got a really painful knee. I never have injuries on my knee, and it's just bizarre. It's like a real sharp, piercing pain under my patella, and I think it's just a reaction to. It's the next link in that thing. It's not really a problem about my knee. It's a problem about my hip flex, which is a problem about my other side, which is a problem about actually the way I run at the moment. So at the moment I've got, yesterday it was really painful. I was working in Runx, the running store, and it was really painful to walk up and down the stairs to get the shoes. I was going up and down. I was like, it was just so painful. I got really worried because it was a sharp pain. I woke up this morning, still got the pain, but it has subsided. So it wasn't anything that happened. It's just a reaction to dealing, sort of just walking. For the last, I've done 70 kilometers, and a lot of that was really walking this week at the 4-daagse festival, the 4-day march in Nijmegen. I'll talk about that in a second. And I was just walking around so much. I think that actually solved the hip flexor issue, but generated a connected issue in my knee. So it wasn't anything specific. It was just a bit of an inflammation thing, I think, just caused as a result of what I've been doing. So yesterday I didn't do any running. Today I'm not going to do any running. Maybe tomorrow I don't do any running either. But I'm not too stressed about it. It's going away already. So I think tomorrow it should be fine. It has meant that I've had to adjust my plans, because I was planning on running a couple of marathons on Monday, Tuesday, but now I'm going to push it out till later on in the week. It sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? Sort of like as part of my training run, I'm going to be running a couple of marathons in a row. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I think I'll do that on Friday, Saturday now. Just run a couple of marathons just as sort of the prep, because we're now less than 2 weeks from the start. I did that last year when I did the 31 marathons. I did sort of 3 marathons in a row, and it worked really well in sort of around this period just before the start of the event. Tapering has no impact on me. It's not like running a single marathon, because I'm not there for one day running the speed. I'm going to be, in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to be running 50 kilometers every day for 40 days. The most important thing I can do is actually not taper. It's just make sure I've got enough sleep. So sleep's going to be a focus. I'm rested, that I'm continuing to do the amount of running I do, but make sure I get more rested as a result of it, because I'm going to be suddenly, otherwise, if I just reduce my mileage down, suddenly I'm going to be shooting up doing that 350 kilometers a week for 6 weeks long. Is just there's no point reducing. Whatever I've done is way under that anyway. Even if I do 120 kilometers, it's still way under the 350 I've got to do. So tapering doesn't mean anything. So I don't need to do that. I just need to make sure I'm rested. So I'm just going to be careful with the knee, make sure that's really healed, and continue to doing. But I'm really excited because I've got stretches. I've actually got a call tomorrow with a company that is part of this new way of life that I need to develop and to make sure that I can continue it. So it's not just about impact today, it's about impact tomorrow, which is going to be the new phase in my journey. That's as a direct result of this age that's coming up. So yeah, that's an update on the injury. That one's gone, new one's come. Oh my God. Just bizarre. I feel like an old man. It's like waking up each day and kind of going, okay, what injury is it today? But it is a bit of a relief that the hip flexor issue's gone away now, or it's practically gone. On Friday I was running, and I think I was sort of, if I gave it a pain level, it was like 1.5 out of 10, something like that. It wasn't quite a 2, but I would say it's a little bit more than 1. It was like that kind of, you're running and you kind of go, oh, have I got is this an injury I've got or not? And to think, okay, that's coming after having an injury for a long time. It's that real last moment where it just completely heals itself. So yeah, that's good. So there's nothing too worried about that. And the knee is significantly better today, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be gone tomorrow. But I won't do the marathons until later on in the week. So that's the injuries. Talking about why the injury came up with the knee, the 4 dagen. So I've just had the most wonderful 4 days in Nijmegen, or 3 days. So what I did was so the GROENE lobby, which is a fantastic sponsor of mine, I'll put a link to them below in the description, and they do sort of cleanups and sustainability elements at festivals and big events, sort of really project-based sustainability cleanups and things. And they work with sort of Amsterdam Marathon. They work with those. They work with a lot of events that go on, whether it's a pop festival, whether it's a sporting festival, whatever it is. They do work for governments as well and things like that. Really fantastic small organization here in Haarlem that have been a supporter of mine for years. And the rules that I have with the sponsorship is, you pay me money, it means you get me for so many days. They never really used that last year, but this year they said, hey, the 2 days that we've got you, could we use you for the 4 dagen? So can you come along? And it actually it's just a perfect partnership, because so they're helping me by sponsoring me, I'm helping them back by sort of using my time as part of their event, and then they've actually they're working with the E42, and then what they go is, hey, we've got this guy that's going to be joining us, and so it benefits the organization, because suddenly I do content for the organization. I'm benefiting the GROENE lobby, like ambassadoring them, and I'm helping myself as well, getting myself in a new organization. It's a perfect symbiotic sort of benefit for us all. We really sort of grow together. It's win-win-win. And so with the E42, I was with them for 2 days. I was doing around cleaning up, focusing on their circular baker cup system that they've got for the cups. The idea is they really investigated the festival that goes alongside the 9-maker 4-day march. That's really famous. Just Google it if you don't know what it is. It's huge. It is the biggest. It is just such an important event, and the festival is on for a whole week. And they really looked into what they could do with, so they've got all these bars. What do we do with beer cups? People want to buy beer, and how can we do this in a sustainable way? So what they've done is they looked at hard cups, and they realized that those weren't working. So they've gone for really thin plastic cups, which doesn't sound sustainable, but it really is sort of the best compromise they can in all of the elements. Ideally it would be nice to not have them, but we're in a society where we have to compromise to go forward. And so what they did was they went, right, the best thing that we can do is charge people €1 if they don't have a cup. So if you go there to the bar, you haven't got a cup already, then it will cost you €1 for that plastic cup, and then you pay for the beer on top of it. Next time, if you go to the bar, if you give them your beer cup, then you don't get €1 extra surcharge on it. You just pay for the beer, and so you just keep on returning with your beer cup. And the idea is, at the end of the evening, you should return your beer cup. You will not get your deposit back. And so that's where it's different from like hard cups, because then you get your deposit back. This is, they worked out that actually the best system is, no, look, we have to acknowledge that people are going to be a little bit tipsy, and they're not going to return them, whatever. They've seen that in the past, so historically that's failed. So this way they've got that €1 charge, which means that they can offset the plastic, but they can also hopefully inspire people to return them. But then we've got things like the GROENE lobby, which I was doing, which is collecting those cups that we see on the ground and making sure they get into the recycling or hand them back in. So that's what I was doing a lot of the time. I was picking up those cups. I was doing the static, the deposit, and I was also doing regular cleanup. And in fact, on one day, I picked up 1,300 litres of trash, which just shows you how much it is. It's such a huge festival. It's a sad state. If you actually look at some of the videos of the 4-day march, the E42 festival, you can see how much trash is left behind by the walkers, and it's kind of shocking. That's really is. I'd love to walk it one time and really sort of just bring my mission into it, saying, look, let's just not drop it on the ground. So it does have a big environmental impact, but I think what the festival's trying to do is limit that, and I think what we need to do is really start bringing in those things that I do with the running events and bring it into that space. I don't want to talk too negative about it, but that's one of the things. And then Friday, I was there with Static on Nederland and Verpakt, who are a big sponsor of mine, the biggest sponsor of mine, and I was in a new banana suit. More on that next time. Loved it. Brilliant day. What else do I want to talk about? Well, so I'm going to come back to the banana suit because I think that deserves its own episode. Maybe I'll link it in as a separate podcast element, because I've still got to finish off bits of the suit. You can actually see it behind there. You can see the brown spots just there if you're looking. There's a whole story behind it. Look out for my post on Instagram or LinkedIn today, and you'll see a bit more story about some of the intent behind it. I'm going to give you another shout out, Cleggy. So a friend of mine, David, he's an English teacher, or he was an English teacher, and especially literature. And I always went through life on these sort of, when you did English literature, you'd be reading a book and they say, what's the meaning behind it? Yeah, okay, why did the author write that? And it has that hidden connotation to society as a whole and everything. And as a kid at school, I was just like, that's a load of rubbish. They're just doing it because it's kind of a cool story. I'm now starting to see, as I get a little bit more creative, that there is an element to that I do. So I do have hidden meaning. So when you look at the banana suit, there are actually brown spots on it. Oh, I'm talking about it. But that have a deeper meaning that I've intentionally set on there. So I'm starting, Craigie, to understand that English literature might not all be wrong and a load of rubbish. It might actually have some genuine truth behind it. We'll see. I'm half on it. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about now was actually some negative things. I want to talk about some negative things that I've seen that I put on my Instagram stories. I just want to really call them out because they it really leads in with the run of promises. And what I do is, for me, it's all about a positive journey, but you have to call out these negative things to say the reason why we need to do it. We need to have a contrast. It can't be just all positive. It can't be, hey, look, everything's going fine. No, it's not. The reason why I'm doing this is that nothing is, or so much isn't going fine. This is the reason why we need to do it. And it's really got worse over the years. I sound a bit like an old man. Oh, it was better in the old days. No, it wasn't better in the old days. It's just there are some elements that are actually getting more accepted. They were still done in the past. It's just that, people were doing it secretly or trying not to be seen. Now it's just right in your face, and you can't avoid but see it. And it's because it's become not accepted, it's become tolerated or ignored. And so we need to change this. So I want to talk about a few negative things I've seen this last week since the last update, and also some positive things. And then I get into my life lesson and that 42 meaning of life thing. So what are the three things that I've seen this week? The first one was literally just someone dropping litter. So I've said in the past, I've been doing this for 15 years now, and like in the first 13 years or whatever, I never saw people dropping trash. And now in the last couple of years, I just see people dropping trash in front of me. It's accepted. And that's exactly what happened. I just saw a guy walking out of the petrol station with a packet of cigarettes. He just ripped off the plastic wrapper foil that's around it, threw it on the ground because he wanted to have a smoke cigarette straight away. And it was just shocking. It was just so blatantly, literally just unwrapped it and deliberately threw it on the ground without even thinking about it. It was just completely subconscious. Yeah, I don't need that. Going to get rid of it. And so I just called out and I just said, I think you dropped something. And I'm cycling past him in a banana suit, and I said it. He would have completely ignored me, and I just carried on. I thought, should I have come back and say something about it? But I was like, no, it serves no purpose. He's not going to change his view. I have so much against the tobacco industry. That's one of the few things I have a big half-assed rule on. I will never have any sort of them as a sponsor. I can't anyway, because they're being banned. I think that's actually one of the problems we have at the moment in society, is the fact that they are banned, or even it's like I've had a conversation with someone. They said, yeah, we don't want to highlight cigarette packets or anything that's littered on the ground because we don't want to call attention to it. No, we have to call attention to it. They are, by that ban and advertising and everything, they are hiding in the shadows, and they must be laughing in our face. I think what's happened is the ban has actually backfired on us, and I'm seeing more and more people smoking and finding it's cool as a result. And there's no counterpoint to it. We need to call that out. And unfortunately, I do see it is a fact. Most of the trash on the ground are cigarette-related things. The biggest litter bugs are smokers. Does that mean if you're a smoker, you're a bad person? No, it just means you're addicted. Does it mean you litter? No, it doesn't. But unfortunately, a lot of people do. And I think you put whatever connection you want on there, and it didn't surprise me that there was a person buying a packet of cigarettes and throwing the wrapper on the ground. But it was just so blatant. It was shocking. And sometimes I'm really conflicted. Should I go back or not? In the end, I was like, nah, don't even bother. But I thought it'd be quite fun if I did go back and in my banana suit and actually tell him what he was doing. And I'm pretty sure he would just like call me an idiot and swear at me and then just walk on and do it again. So that's the reason why I didn't. The next one is about youth, about how things are this one is old man, better in the old days talking. I was sort of grown up with, if you're sitting on a bus or a train and there's an old person, you say, "Do you want my seat?" and you let them sit down. I've got a whole bunch of stories on this, but for whatever reason, from the 4-day march, I was just coming back on the Friday, catching the train. There were a lot of party people there, as well as a lot of walkers that just done their 200 kilometers walking, and they were going home. And we got on the train, hugely packed, standing room only. And there were these young girls that just, they got on first. They took a seat, they sat down. And then all of these walkers that were like much older than me, who had been walking their butts off. Yeah, fair enough, they're fit or everything, and they've walked 200 kilometers. But it'd be kind of nice if they could sit down. They didn't have to stand up anymore. But yeah, these girls just sat down, completely ignored the fact that there were all these people that looked completely exhausted after 4 days of doing something really impressive. And it just broke my heart. I was like, again, I didn't say anything. I was like, what's the point? It was just a sad thing to see that the youth had done that. Not everyone. Again, this is not how society is necessarily with everyone, but it was in that situation. It would have been nice if they'd have stood up. But anyway, another thing that was happening there was first class carriage, completely packed train, first class carriage completely empty. I was like thinking, why don't people just go into the first class carriage? The conductor, or the train conductor, cannot get through to check tickets anyway, so they could just sat down there anyway. So, but yeah, completely on a similar thing. It was like, no, it's first class, we can't sit there. That was quite interesting. So that was the train story. The next one is, it was just, I think this is just such a wonderfully awful story, and it's so simple. I was walking to work yesterday, and there was a person outside their front door that was just on the pavement in front of their house. They had a scraper, and they were scraping off chewing gum from the brickwork that was on the path, on the footpath in front of their house. I was like, that is so cool that they're doing that. And it was scraping it off. They managed to scrape it off. They picked it up and threw it over their shoulder onto the bike path. It was like, I was just, all of these things, I don't say anything, mainly because I'm so stunned that it happens. I was like, what just happened? I walked past for like the next 100 meters going, what did I just see? Why did that happen? This guy literally just scraped off the chewing gum that was irritating him so much because it was a meter from his house, and he threw it over his shoulder. So it was 3 meters from his house, but on the bike path and still on the ground. It just blew my mind. What is going through their thought process? It is just basic, that bubble. This is my house. This is my the front of my house. Bloody people putting chewing gum, dropping it down. Don't like that. Scraping off and then going, someone else's problem. Don't care about the chewing gum. Just care about it in front of my house, the path in front of my house and my doorstep. And that's what I'm trying to change and I have to kind of figure out the way to word this better, is in as much as saying, hey, Run for Promises is about acts of kindness. It's about positive actions for people, not against people. This is a good example. They were doing something, or so many that you'll see people doing something, but you have to ask yourself, what is the real reason why they're doing it? Are they doing it because they're doing it for perhaps their they're doing it for people, but they're doing it against society as a whole. And you see that with country bias and everything. We want, all they want to do is win. They want to be better than the other person. So they're doing, maybe they're doing something good, but they're doing it for the wrong intent. They're not doing it for good as a whole. They're doing it so they win. And that's the problem we've got is that I want to make sure of is, when you do an act of kindness, make sure it is for the good of all and it's not just for the good of some. So that was it. But let's talk about a positive thing that happened. I'm running through time. I'm going to be quite quick. I had to pick up a package from a locker, one of those package locker thingies. So I tried to pick it up. I couldn't find my QR code. It was from UPS. And I just could not find the QR code. I couldn't find the code to open it. I was getting a real panic. I was like, oh, God, they're going to send it back. They haven't sent me. I had all these emails from UPS, and I just could not find a code that did it. And it was just really frustrating. I sort of went into the store to see, hey, is there anything you could do, into the supermarket where it was next to, and they were like, no, there's nothing we do. So I walked back, and just as I walked back, the UPS courier was just putting more packages in there. And so I just asked him, thinking, job's worth, what's the chance? I was going to say, there's nothing I can do. You need to contact UPS and then they'll sort it out for you. But no, he spent literally 10 minutes with me trying to find the code. He had my phone, I just said, look, just use my phone, see if you can figure it out, because I cannot figure it out. And he was going through everything, look at my spam and everything like that. I was like, oh my God, it's going to talk about penis enlargement. So I get spam off all the time. Don't know why. Anyway, so he's looking spam, couldn't find it there, wherever. And it got... he was getting frustrated as I was. I was like, what's going on? Eventually he found it. He really put 10 minutes of his workday into helping one customer out, way outside of what he needed to do. And I was so grateful. I put that onto UPS on Instagram. I wanted to try and do UPS NL, but I couldn't. It was just a big general thing. And then I got this automated AI chatbot that came back and said, how can we help you? And I said, I had nothing. I just wanted to post something positive about that. And then suddenly the AI chatbot just went, here's a link that you can actually say thank you to someone in UPS. And I thought that's so great. So one of the things I want to do is not just do that. I still haven't done it, but I do need to do it and say thank you for that person. But also I want to share that link, and say, this is such a cool thing to do. Let's celebrate these people. With these delivery parcel people, all we do is moan. If it, most of the time the package arrives and it's perfect, no problems. We never say thank you. The only time we say something about these delivery ones is when something goes wrong. There's just so many packages, something will go wrong. And all we do is just moan at them. All they get every moment of the day is probably just complaints. Whereas that's not a real reflection on 90% of the packages. There we go. Right, meaning of life. I've got 1 minute before I'm going to close down. What is the meaning of life? 42, episode 42. I watched Disclosure Day this week, and what it made me realize was about empathy. There was a real big theme there for empathy. And I was like, oh my God, empathy is so important. It distinguishes us from the theme that came out of it. Was like, empathy is what makes us human, makes us special as a species. We have empathy, or we can have empathy. And that was sort of a theme that went through it. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I started Googling it. And I didn't even realize that it was like a quote from Plato and other people. There have been some people, I'm not going to name them, in society today that say empathy is the destruction of society. I think that's the biggest load of egotistical, self-driven nonsense and drivel in my life. Just Google who said it. But empathy, and it really is, and it made me realize that is actually what's driving me. Yeah, I am picking up trash, but I think the thing that I need to be most proud of is that I'm trying to do it I do it with, I don't know if this is a word, a combination of words you could do with empathetic intent. So I do it with a view, the things I do is with a view of trying to generate empathy as well as to, articulate my empathy towards society, towards animals. I'm vegan because I'm empathetic towards, I didn't start being vegan because of ethics on animals and things, but I definitely do it now. It's sort of, I didn't even realize it at the time until I became vegan. But one of the things I love about being vegan is that it is me basically being empathetic towards the animals, to all animals, to make sure that I value their life as much as I value my own as a human. So I really encourage people to watch Disclosure Day. Even if you don't like sci-fi, just look at the hidden meaning behind it and the message. And I think that's what I love about sci-fi is it kind of talks about those themes so much. That was a very short summary of the meaning of life. But for me, I think it's so important. I think for me, my way of life is very much driven by trying to put into physical form that empathy that I want to have and I strive to do. Do I do it perfectly? Heck no. I am just like anyone else. I always say that, I'm good at three things, sort of, plogging, running long and being vegan, but and joke about it and saying all the rest of my life sucks. But same with empathy. I suck at so many elements when it comes to empathy, but I try my hardest to make sure that it balances out, that I am more empathetic than I'm not. I think that's it. I think my way of life, my way of life is trying to provide, is to inspire people into empathetic actions of kindness, empathetic intent, just for people, not against people, for society, not against society, for the planet, not against the planet, for animals and not against animals. Thank you for listening. I hope this was a nice update. Speak to you next week. Bye bye.